On today's show, the OKC Thunder escape Golden State with a win. The Hawks hand the Cavs their first home loss this season behind a 2020 game from Trae Young. The Wolves are completely spiraling. Tyler Hero's late game heroics. The Rockets in overtime again, and so much more on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every single night. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Joining me, my partner in crime, David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. David, I'd ask you what you saw in the NBA last night, but we saw a lot. We saw 14 games.
Not really able to process all 14 of them right now, but some good action all around to kind of cap us into the Thanksgiving holiday. So a lot to be thankful for.
A lot to be thankful for. We want to thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen every day. We want to thank you for joining us. If you're listening in on this Thanksgiving holiday, best wishes to you and your family as you're celebrating here this holiday season. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And where we are going to get started is with our game of the night. The OKC Thunder in the Bay Area against the Warriors. And man, this was a game. Let's throw it out to Locked On Thunder for the instant reaction.
Still a win for Oklahoma City. More bad than good after Jalen Williams went out with an injury, but the Thunder were able to survive in Golden State and secure at least a 2-2 stint in this 4-game road trip, which is impressive for the Thunder considering the injuries are piling up for Oklahoma City. SGA was special for the majority of this game, even while missing a clutch free throw, and the Thunder got just enough from Cason Wallace and company to get a win. We'll find out how on Locked On Thunder.
David, the end of this game was absolutely insane. I mean, just walking through it very quickly. I mean, it's 97-96 with like a minute and a half left to play. SGA hits a huge three-pointer. He'd missed a couple threes up to that point. Looked like he was running on some dead legs. I mean, he was just, nothing came easy in this game. Draymond Green had a wide open three that he missed. Kuminga missed a jumper. Like, the Warriors had chances to kind of cut the gap down after that little 4-point cushion that SGA made. Hartenstein gets back-to-back trips to the free throw line, goes 1 for 2 back-to-back times there. And then Warriors get a chance where they inbound the ball and get it up the court in like less than 5 seconds. They run a little DHO action. Wiggins hits a 3 to make it a one-possession game. SGA goes to the free throw line, and if you heard me say it a second ago, 1 for 2, SGA 1 for 2. Like this 1 for 2 number is going to curse OKC fans for a while. They're going to have some PTSD from it. Warriors get a chance to tie the game up. They're only down 2. They inbound it to the corner, and Dre is like just blanketed by the OKC defender. Somehow gets the pass over the top to Wiggins, and he has a good look at the rim. Completely smokes the layup. Might have gotten blocked, a fingertip on it. This was a crazy ending between two of the elite teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah, that Wiggins layup, he was a little out of position when he caught it. He looked at a little off balance as he's trying to get it off with time expiring, et cetera. But you know what? Golden State's offense, it just completely collapsed. They went 6 minutes, I think, without a field goal made late in the fourth quarter. So they were really struggling there. They had gotten some trips to the line. But overall, they just couldn't get anything done. So credit to Oklahoma City's defense. They played some great D down the stretch. Hartenstein had a really nice possession defensively late in the game, too, where eliminated a possession completely and wasn't able to get any kind of real offense going. So Oklahoma City did a great job, but Golden State, unfortunately, collapsing there late in the game and not really able to muster anything. Like their offense just bogged down completely. They didn't get any open looks at all. So again, good game for Oklahoma City. And you miss Steph Curry in the Golden State side, obviously, because he makes things so much easier for the Warriors.
Yeah, neither of these teams at full strength. Obviously, the Thunder still missing Chet Holmgren as well. But I also want to give a quick shout out to Kyle Anderson and Buddy Hield, who just immediately got plugged into the Golden State system and look incredible, right? All the different little like split cut actions that they run with Draymond Green, kind of passing out of the either the elbow or kind of that little post up pocket, whatever, and just all the little things that they do, all the off ball actions that they run. Those two guys have fit in so seamlessly. Some big time contributors for them so far this season. Let's throw it to our next game where the Hawks hand the Cavs their first loss, or their first home loss of the season, I should say. Let's throw it out to Locked On Hawks for the recap.
It's Brad Roll. I'm the host of the Locked On Hawks podcast. And the Atlanta Hawks go into Cleveland and win by a final score of 135-124 in surprising fashion on the day before Thanksgiving. Trae Young, the big story in this one, with 22 assists to go along with 20 points, the second most assists for a Hawk since 1993, and a career high for the league's assist leader in Trae Young. And the Hawks were awesome offensively in this game. A season high 23s for Atlanta, a season high 39 assists for the Hawks as well. And one of two major upsets for Atlanta this season. They went into Boston earlier this season and really shocked the world without Trae Young and knocked off the Celtics. This one was a little bit less surprising, but at the same time, the Hawks had lost 3 games in a row. It was not going well for Atlanta, and they put it all together on this night. A lot of season highs for the Hawks across the board. DeAndre Hunter with 26 points off the bench. Dyson Daniels had his career high with 10 rebounds. It was just a well-rounded, impressive performance from the Hawks. We'll get into all how it happened and more on the Locked On Hawks podcast.
Yeah, this was, first off, David, I don't think the very few players are as exciting as Trae Young when he's pulling up for logo threes, when he's wheeling and dealing the way that he can run and orchestrate an offense the way that he did in this game. He had 8 of his 20 points and 8 of his 22 assists came in that fourth and final quarter in this game as they were able to rout the Cavs in Cleveland, handing them their first home loss of the season. Just a big time performance by Trae and company.
Absolutely. It's so interesting that at this point in his career, Young is still known for putting up 3-pointers from long distance, but his passing has always been so underrated, and he's such a great passer. Like a guy who can really get teammates going. Certainly helps tonight when they shoot almost 48% from 3. But other than that, his offense was, not exactly as fluid as it's been in the past, but his playmaking was on another level. 22, again, a career high, incredible assisting from him to get everybody going. And Hunter with a big game off the bench, as Brad said, with 26 points.
We got one more game here for you in our first segment where we saw some vintage James Harden action against the Clippers, but still vintage James Harden nonetheless. Let's check in with Locked On Clippers.
The Clippers got a nice bounce back win at Washington on Wednesday night. James Harden had his highest scoring game as a Clipper, 43 points. Now, granted, the Wizards are the worst defensive team in the league, but we kept calling for it. I kept calling for it on Locked On Clippers. When's that nuclear Harden game coming? He's got so much usage. He's got the ball in his hands all the time. Is he going to have one of those games where he finally starts hitting his threes? Because he's been, not shooting the ball too well so far this season. And it came in the form of that first quarter where he had 23 points, hunting Jordan Poole and Corey Kispert on switches. And when he didn't get the switch, they threw 2 on the ball, put guys like Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. in short roll situations, and they made some good reads out of it. I also thought Ivica Zubac is getting better with his reads, dominated down low, another double-double for him, finishing around the basket, showing his improved left hand. And we also got some good minutes in the fourth quarter when the game was kind of decided already by Jordan Miller and Terrence Mann. Good win by the Clippers, 12-8 through 20.
David, this Clippers team, the more that I watch them, the more that I see them play, I'm a little bit bought in, right? Obviously they don't, it's tough to, consider them like true contenders or anything until we know ultimately the status of Kawhi Leonard. But the way that James Harden's playing, you have the right pieces around him, right? Guys that can defend, guys with length. You've got Zubac, who is, a great vertical floor spacer, which has always been the recipe for success with James Harden. You give him a big man that he can just throw that lob over the top to, or get, on some easy mismatches down low after, the initial screening action. And that's really the recipe for success. And the Clippers have made that work so far this season. If they can get Kawhi Leonard back healthy, I kind of actually like this Clippers team, man.
In terms of what? You see them as a contender or not quite there? Like they're just going to be a team that can make the playoffs, maybe make a little noise, maybe pull off the first round upset. Like they have a limited ceiling. I think that's fair to say at this point, is that they're a good team and they're just not going to go as deep as they expected to. This whole process.
I see them as like kind of like the Toronto Raptors with Kawhi, where like if they're opportunistic and they have like not an easy pathway, like I'm not just trying to like take anything away from that Raptors title run, but just like they face some teams with some injuries along the way, right? Not a fully healthy Golden State team in the finals, like just different things. Like if they can get Kawhi back with this version of James Harden and all the supporting cast pieces around them, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs.
I'm done, Jackson. It's fool's gold. I'm never counting on Kawhi ever being healthy for the rest of his career.
Oh, man. All right. Well, you heard it here. We got differing opinions on that one. But coming up, the Wolves are just flat out spiraling. The Heat get a win behind some late game heroics from Tyler Herro, and the Rockets survive their second straight overtime game. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5, just $5, and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the exact same page where you actually place your bets. Just head on over to FanDuel.com to join today. And while you're there, take a look at the different odds available. Check out their parlay builder, check out the different season awards, or just check out the outright favorites to win the Super Bowl this season. Right now, the Lions clear far and away favorites at plus 300. The Chiefs behind them at plus 500. The Eagles plus 650. And rounding at the top five, you have the Ravens and the Bills both at plus 700. So for all those odds and so much more, head on over to FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And continuing on here at Locked On NBA Game Night, where we thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, we're talking about 14 different games on this show. Go find the team, go find the show for your market, for your favorite team. Go check David out over at Locked On Heat. Check me out over at Locked On Rockets. We've got a team for you, or a show for you, wherever you want to listen to them at. Podcast, YouTube, all that good stuff. All right, David, let's get into our next game here on the docket. The Sacramento Kings on the road getting a ridiculous comeback win against the completely and utterly spiraling Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's throw it out to Locked On Wolves host Ben Beacon.
Wolves fell to the Sacramento Kings on Wednesday night, losing their fourth straight game. The Timberwolves did not lose 4 straight games at any point last season. Regular season, playoffs, never. They've now lost 4 straight and 7 out of their last 9. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the Daily Locked On Wolves podcast. And the Wolves actually led in this game in the fourth quarter. They trailed by double figures several times throughout the game. It was actually, there were boo birds for the second straight night at Target Center. But then the Wolves got up by 12 in the midway through the fourth quarter. They're up 98-86. The Kings went on a 26-6 run. It was all about the Wolves' stagnant, isolation-heavy offense, and the defense was actually pretty good in the second half. The Kings made some extremely tough shots down the stretch. Credit especially Malik Monk, who had 27 points on just 16 shots off the bench. De'Aaron Fox had 26. Sabonis had 27, 12, and 5. And the Kings stars made plays down the stretch, and the Wolves didn't.
Man, David, this Minnesota Timberwolves team, they are just flat out. I don't know how else to describe it other than I kind of talked myself into the trade at first. I thought, okay, maybe things will work with Julius Randle if they get the best version of him. And so far, it's not even that like they've gotten a little bit from Randle and like a little, like they've gotten absolutely nothing from Dante DiVincenzo. And then Julius Randle has had some moments where he's looked good, but then you look at like just how problematic he's also been on the defensive side of things. That's been the biggest surprise to me. Is I thought it was going to be kind of a clunky fit offensively. Okay, how is he going to replace the 3-point shooting of Towns and all that stuff? But defensively, like there's just plays where he just flat out gives up. He's a defensive sieve.
Yeah, it looks like a lose-lose trade now for both teams because Karl-Anthony Towns obviously putting up some big numbers offensively, but defensively still an issue. We'll talk about the Knicks later on. But the story really, and it sucks for Sacramento fans because they got a big win and a huge comeback, but everybody talking that team, Anthony Edwards talking about everybody's got their own agenda after the game. Like that seems like a locker room that is broken or about to break. And that's Very strange considering what run they had last year and how good they were, how cohesive they were. They were such a dangerous team. And now it looks like a completely different iteration of this group, obviously with Randall DiVincenzo. But I was with you too. I thought they were going to be able to fix, or at least fit in well and be able to muster enough offense where they could make up for whatever defensive liabilities they might have. That has not been the case. This team does look like they're struggling.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't know who they're going to turn it around, because again, if that's a chaotic locker room situation, right? You take away a guy who was kind of gone. Right. You take away the guy who was the heart, and it feels like the heart and soul in Karl-Anthony Towns, right, of that organization. Like I just don't know where they go from here. Let's throw it out to Heat on the road against the Hornets. This game had a wild ending, David. Final score 98-94, and Tyler Hero had some late game heroics in this one. Walk us through what happened here.
LaMelo Ball was 17 points in the fourth quarter. He was ridiculous, just putting up shot after shot after shot, just completely unconscious and without any kind of regard for whether or not what good basketball might be. So it's just interesting how he was able to kind of help claw their way back, because they were down 20 at one point and they needed everything that they could possibly get, the Heat did, in order to be able to put this team away. But yes, Tyler with a big shot down the stretch and also a big steal in order to get some free throws and be able to seal the deal there. But look, Miami was without Jimmy Butler. He had some back issues. He was wearing a heat pack on the sideline, and they were on the second night of a back-to-back. But just it's an ugly win for a team that just continues to find ways to make every game, no matter how big their margins might be, they could find every way to have a clutch situation here and have it be within 5 points near the end of the game, because this Miami offense just seems to bog down every night.
Are the Miami Heat the best team in the NBA at finding a way to turn a game into an ugly game at the very end? Even when they look like they have it like bird in hand, they're just...
Absolutely. And Eric Spoelstra will say, we love this. We love it. We play in the mud. He gets giddy every time he sees these kinds of scores. And we have to cover this team. And we're like, no, we just want a blowout. Make it easy for us, please.
It's always funny hearing coaches talk about that kind of stuff where they're like, yeah, blowouts are nice, but when you get those kind of, those resiliency wins or those sweet victories where it's like, no, the blowouts are kind of nice. Let's erase all worries about this. Speaking of gritty wins, the Houston Rockets, man, their second straight night, so playing on the second night of a back-to-back, their second straight game going into overtime against the corpse of the Philadelphia 76ers. This was a game where the Rockets had zero business getting to overtime period. Their offense just completely faltered. Again, second night of a back-to-back. It took everything to get their win the night before. Against the Minnesota Timberwolves in cup play. That is talked about. Ben Beacon talking about the Boo Birds in Minnesota's second straight night in a row. The Rockets, courtesy of that first batch. But man, this was a game. Jalen Green, for his first good game in weeks. He scored 41 points for the Rockets. He had 18 first quarter points. He was sensational through regulation, right? And he was a little self-aware post-game when he was doing his walk-off interview where he was like, yeah, I got a little rest last night in the cup game because he only played 23 minutes. He got benched for the fourth quarter and OT. So he was the only starter that was fresh in this game. And so it kind of worked out. But then the hero of this game was Alperen Sengun. The Rockets, look, it was 108-111. Dylan Brooks had a stupid foul on Tyrese Maxey, who put up ridiculous numbers in this game. 39 points, 14 of 34 shooting. Just everything was going through Tyrese Maxey in this one. He hit 3 free throws at the end of regulation to tie this game up. And then in overtime, it kind of looked like, man, all right, you're on the 76ers home court. Maxey's cooking. This is going to be game over. Alperen Sengun saved the day. He did it not only with his offense, which he struggled all game, only had 2 points at halftime, really came alive in the second half. He had 11 points of his 22 points in that overtime period, but it was his defense that really stood out. He's become like this ridiculous two-way force. He was kind of showing and recovering on the perimeter against Tyrese Maxey, and he had a really huge block there on one of Maxey's drives in overtime. His impact, he's playing like a top 15, top 20 player this season.
That's a good point. That's the second seed in the Western Conference. It's amazing that they've made this incredible run there. Are you a believer? We talked about it, I know, in the past, but are you starting to see this team and see the formation of not just a playoff team, but a team that can actually win a series in the Western Conference?
Absolutely. I think they've got all the makings of a team that they don't have like their true traditional like 1A superstar guy, right? I think Sengun is obviously the closest that you can get there. He still has some nights where maybe he doesn't have it or kind of a slow start, whatever. But one of the signatures of a star player, right, is being able to find their way back at the end of a game, right? Showing up when it matters most. This is the second straight game where Alperen Sengun has straight up dominated in the overtime period after a slow start to his game. So I think the Rockets are going to be a team that nobody wants to face this postseason. And again, I thought they were going to be a play-in team, like top of the play-in bracket at best. They're looking like they're aiming for home court advantage at this point in the season through about a quarter of the way in. They're 14-6. They're on a 58 win pace for this season. So we'll see how it all turns out. But let's get to our next game here on the docket before we move on to our final segment. The Knicks against the Mavericks. Dallas gets a win with no Luka Doncic. Let's throw it out to Locked On Mavs.
Luka, but another impressive win for the Dallas Mavericks. Nick Angstead here from the Locked On Mavericks podcast, and the Mavs hold the Knicks to 114 points. They hold them to 38 points in the first half, their lowest of the season by 9 points. An incredible defensive performance, and they got offensive performances from a bunch of different guys. The Mavs shot 16 of 32 from three, an insane mark. It was kind of a Magnets game where the Knicks didn't hit any threes at all. They couldn't hit anything, and the Mavericks got contributions from Najee Marshall, another 20-point game. He's had 5 20-point games this season. He had 5 20-point games his entire career before this season. PJ Washington, another great game. Quentin Grimes coming in and starting, and he had another great game. And Spencer Dinwiddie finally had the game that I hoped that he would have, like every 5 to 8 games for the Mavericks. He was supposed to come in and be this guy that could be a spot starter sometimes, come in and just hit some shots, make some plays. He had a great game, 21 points, 9 assists for Spencer Dinwiddie, showing what he can do off the bench. Great game, great win for the Dallas Mavericks.
On the other side of this one, I'm sure Jalen Brunson wishes that he could have gotten the dub against his former team, not for lack of trying. 37 points on 14 of 21 shooting. He was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. Another big offensive night for Karl-Anthony Towns, 25 points, 7 of 16 shooting, 14 rebounds. But yeah, it's been the defense kind of the issue for this Knicks team. They just haven't been able to put it together consistently on the defensive side of things. And maybe it's just, Mavs are shooting the lights out of the ball, right? 51.5% from downtown is hard for any team to beat on any given night.
Yeah, 24% shooting from three-pointers for the Knicks as well. So that didn't certainly help their cause. But yeah, defensively, they've been porous. They just haven't found an identity, and I don't know that they will at this point. I'm not sure what it's going to take. Even with OG Anunoby there, it just doesn't seem to have the same kind of defensive tenacity they had last year.
Coming up, we got to get to our final segment. We still got 7 more games of this 14-game slate to get to. A surprise hero as the Nets beat the Suns. Lakers handle business against Wemby and the Spurs. The Magic are the only team left undefeated at home, and Marcus Smart absolutely goes off against the Pistons. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Skylight Frames. Look, if you're missing someone this holiday season and you want them to be a part of your festivities from afar, or maybe your loved ones live super far away and you wish they could be closer to you, we've got the answer for you. Got to check out Skylight Frames. If you come from a big family, it can be really hard and expensive to buy, certain people, gifts, whatnot. This is the perfect gift to give this holiday season. It's so easy to use. You got to check it out. Skylight Frames. It's this touchscreen digital photo frame for your whole family. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in literally seconds. Setup takes less than 60 seconds to figure out. You can invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or use it via email. There's no subscription required. It really is such a streamless setup. You can add new photos straight from your device from anywhere. The touchscreen is a total game changer. You can swipe through different photos, hit different memories really quickly. It looks beautiful in your home. There's so many different ways that you can stylize it, put it in different rooms throughout your home, whether you live in an apartment, a house, whatever. 2 different sizes to choose from, and it's ultimately better than social media. So right now, we have a special offer for you, a limited time offer for our listeners. Get $20 off of your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off of your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. And final segment here at Locked On NBA Game Night, where we're going to do things a little bit differently here in our third and final segment. We're going to do a triple threat rundown where we have 3 options here. We're going to get through our last slate of games, and basically what it is, we're going to be in triple threat for these final 7 games, which means you can shoot, you can drive, or you can pass, David. So shoot if you got a take to share about the game. Hit me with it. You can drive, lob up a question. We'll discuss it. Pass. We're going to move on. Let's start with the Nets getting a big win on the road against the Phoenix Suns. Let's throw it up to Locked On Nets host Adam Armbrecht.
The West Coast and a late night. But what is a Nets fan to do when Brooklyn goes ahead and takes down Phoenix on the road 127-117? It's about the resiliency of this roster in spite of not having Nicholas Claxton, in spite of not having Noah Clowney. You go ahead and dive into a player like Tyrese Martin, who goes 10 of 13 from the field, a 30-point performance that leads all Brooklyn Nets scorers, 8 of 10, say it again, 80% from downtown across 28 minutes. Exemplifies exactly what this season has been for Brooklyn under Jordy Fernandez. Resiliency, tenacity, aggression, grit, fight, determination. Yes, it may come at the cost of the tank and everything that Brooklyn Nets fans were holding on to. Who cares? This is the stuff that special seasons are made of, and I am done trying to figure out why Brooklyn is as good as they are this year. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy every single minute of it.
All right, David. So Nets get the win, 127-117 in the desert against the Suns. What do you got for me? Shoot, drive, or pass? I'm
going to shoot. I'm going to say it's awesome to see this team continue to win. Like, I hate teams tanking. I hate the idea of blowing a season. And while that might have been the expectation for a group that isn't particularly talented, to see them find a way to collectively win, to eke out these victories, to beat a good Phoenix team, this is a lot of fun. It should be really appreciated by Nets fans.
Honestly, yeah, tanking sucks. Coming from a guy that just covered a team that tanked for 3 straight seasons, it's awful. It's like the worst thing ever. So credit to the Nets. It might not be maybe it's not the best thing for like strategic long-term basketball stuff, but you know, we'll see ultimately what happens as the season progresses for them. Let's get to our next game here. Lakers taking care of business against Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. Throw it out to Locked On Lakers host
of the Locked On Lakers podcast. And the Lakers bounce back from 2 consecutive 20-plus point losses and a 3-game losing streak to beat the Spurs 119-101 in San Antonio. A really complete team effort. 7 players in double figures, including a team-leading 20 points for rookie Dalton Connect, reinserted into the starting lineup. 17 points and 5 assists for D'Angelo Russell off the bench. 12 points for Max Christie off the bench. 16 points for Rui Hachimura. If guys like that continue to produce for the Lakers and they get a team-wide energy and effort like they had from start to finish, the Lakers can maybe start to meet the expectations the team had heading into the season. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you are watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, David, shoot, drive, or pass?
I'm going to drive. Is Dalton Connect real? Do you believe in his ability to continue to thrive the way he has this season? Do you think he's going to be able to complement LeBron James and Anthony Davis moving forward? And are you buying D'Angelo Russell off the bench?
I am not. I'll start with the latter. I am not buying D'Angelo. Are you talking about buying his production off the bench? Because I don't know. D'Lo has like these hot games like every so often where he looks like a future, like he looks like an all-star player. He's so inconsistent. So no, I'm not buying D'Lo stock. But Dalton Connect was so high on him going into the draft, and there's like been this aversion to like guys who, you know, are like older upperclassmen coming into the NBA or whatever. These guys come in as more polished products, right? They're ready to contribute right away. And Dalton Connect has this like just innate ability to score the ball. Like he's so effective. And the fact that he fell all the way to 17 and the Lakers were able to scoop him up, the moment they made that pick, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how did they let this guy fall to LeBron James and Anthony Davis at pick 17? He is incredible for them. And I don't know how long he's going to be the starter for. I don't know if that's going to be like the new permanent thing, you know, moving forward, but Dalton Connect is the truth. He's been fantastic and he's going to continue to be fantastic for LA. Let's get to our next game here. Nuggets on the road against the Jazz. Nikola Jokic doing Nikola Jokic things. Let's throw it out to host of Locked On Jazz, our fearless leader, David Locke.
As head coach Will Hardy said it well before the game, we're going to play lineups you've never considered, never thought of, and we never imagined. When you don't have Lowry Marketing, John Collins, Kyle Filipowski, and Jordan Clarkson. That's what happens. The Jazz came out well early. They shot it lights out in the first quarter as they hit on 13 of their first 24 shots and added 7 3-pointers in that first quarter. Actually led the Denver Nuggets 35-34. But then it all started to come unraveled as the Jazz just didn't have enough firepower. They went 8 of 24 shooting in both the second and the third quarters. They were down by 10 at the half and then down by 25 as they entered the third quarter. As the Jazz ended up had a Micah Potter, two-way player. Oscar Tshiebwe had 9 rebounds as the shorthanded Jazz had to really pull all the strings tonight. And Nikola Jokic just simply too much. 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists for the Jazz against the Jazz, who were led by 26 from Colin Sexton and 23 from Keontae George.
All right, David, shoot, drive, or pass?
I'm going to pass on this one. This is a win that obviously Denver should have pulled off. Utah, as shorthanded as they were, no business being in this game whatsoever. And we know the Denver Nuggets are going to be fine once they get Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon back in the lineup.
All right, let's get to our next game here. Blazers on the road against the Indiana Pacers. Let's throw it out to Tony East, host of Locked On Pacers.
Locked On Pacers in the very well-lit lobby of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. There's a high school game on the court, so we're out here because the Pacers just won a game that they needed. They beat Portland in this building, their 3rd win in a row. And the story, Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Haliburton cooking at the same time. 57 combined for the duo, 29 for Siakam, 28 for Tyrese Haliburton, 57, their highest combined total this year. They had not reached 50 together before tonight. They looked great. The Pacers were going to that action with those two over and over and over down the stretch. Pitches, ball screens, whatever it took, they were getting good shots out of it and making them, which obviously was a big deal. And them earning a win against Portland. That's 3 in a row for the Pacers. They're now 9-10 after a 6-10 start, which was pretty ugly. They haven't played great this week, but some injured, banged up, low-quality opponents have helped them get some victories. They've got Detroit in this building on Friday, a chance to get back to 500. Haliburton looks great again. Siakam might be an all-star this year. Much more on Locked On Pacers.
I love Tony with the muffled audio in and out of his recording. All right, David, shoot, drive, or pass. What you got for me?
I'm going to shoot. Haliburton's back. It was never a concern to begin with. And he's already figured out his rhythm. 34 points the night before, or on Monday night, the game before. He's back. It's going to be just fine in Indiana.
All right, let's get to our next game here. The Orlando Magic still undefeated at home, a 133-119 win against the Chicago Bulls. They got 31 points from Jalen Suggs in this one, 24 from KCP, 21 from Franz Wagner. David, shoot, drive, or pass?
I'm going to pass on this one. This was a team that's playing so well in Orlando. They're figuring things out. Obviously, their defense, and it's the Bulls. We use them as a barometer for a team that just can't seem to stay consistent, and for good reason.
All right, we got 2 games left to get here for you guys. We got the Grizzlies taking care of business at home, 131-111 against the Detroit Pistons. And the name of the game for the Grizzlies in this one, the guy who brought it home, was Marcus Smart off the bench, Marcus literally Steph Curry Smart in this game. 25 points off the bench, 7 of 11 3-point shooting. On the other side, the high point man for the Detroit Pistons, Jaden Ivey. Still no Cade Cunningham for them. Just a total blowout, 20-point loss. David, shoot, drive, pass.
Let's pass on this one. What else can you say? Marcus Smart with 25 points. You're not going to see that again for a while.
Yeah, we might not see that again for the rest of this season, let alone a while. All right, last game we got here for on the docket. Toronto Raptors get the 119-93 win against the still decimated New Orleans Pelicans. And I won't even give you a shoot, drive, or pass on this one, David. No. All I'm going to say is that when we are collecting all these little post-game shorts and videos and whatnot, when Locked On Pels host Jake Madison submitted his short for this one, he titled it "Pelicans Lose to Raptors, Cool Hats at Least." Like, he's just down bad, down horrendous with this Pelicans team. I feel so bad for him. It's a rough watch right now if you're a Pels fan.
Kudos to him for trying to stay positive. But yeah, what else can you say? This is a team that just isn't complete, and they won't be for a while. And so they're going to continue to lose.
On that note, that completes our 14-game slate here at Locked On NBA for you guys. We hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday. Thanks so much for being here with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. For your next listen, go find the Locked On Show for your favorite team. Until then, we will catch you guys on our very next game night.